Hello again, and welcome once more to Denton's Tales. We are in the month of December. Now, it's an important month for the pagan community, regardless of what they may call themselves, heathen, Old Norse, pagan, also true, Odinist, Wiccan, or anything else, containing as it does the great Midwinter festival of the Old Norse and the Germanic tribes of Northern Europe. It also contains the seemingly Christian festival of Christmas. Yet there is much more to Christmas than most people realize, and it has nothing to do with Christianity. No. As I said, it is the month of December. Christmas is coming, the geese are getting fat. Please to put a penny in the old man's hat. Now, not many people, I suppose, still have the Christmas goose of years past, and a penny nowadays, well, it's about as much use as a screen door on a submarine. But the spirit of Christmas remains, and it is one of the most important days of the religious calendar, for Christians at least, celebrating the birth of Jesus, a totally Christian thing. But is it? The answer to that question is no. No, not by a long way. It has more to do with paganism, in the celebratory sense at least, since it draws on celebrations almost exclusively from pagan rituals and customs. Oh well, whatever about that. It still marks the birthday of Jesus. Right? Yes? Right? Actually, no. No, even that isn't true. He wasn't born on December the 25th. No date is given in the Gospels. Well, I mean, he had to be born on some date, obviously, but which one we have absolutely no idea, nor do we even know what year he was born in. Scholars argue about that, but they really haven't any idea. And the fact that, despite what the Bible may say, Caesar Augustus ordered no census around that time, and even had he done so, well, no one had to return to their place of birth to register. Well, that doesn't really help the debate. But in that case, why do we celebrate the 25th of December as his birthday? Well, you see, that date was chosen by the Church, by Pope Julius I in 336 AD. And where did he get that date from, you ask? I mean, did he just sort of pick it out of the air? Well, possibly from a Greco-Roman alleged historian named Sextus Iulius Africanus, circa 160 to circa 240 AD, who decided that Jesus was conceived on March the 5th, though quite where he got such intimate knowledge about Mary is rather hard to understand. I mean, one would assume that only the angel, Joseph, and Mary herself would be privy to that information, but he did, however he got it. And 9 months in Mary's womb resulted in Jesus being born on December the 25th. How simple is that? Yeah, so where did he get that intimate information from? Sadly, we shall never know. The real reason for the Pope's use of that date, however, was to coincide with the pagan festival of Saturnalia, which occurred in Rome around that same time, and was a very evil, nasty thing altogether. Well, I mean, obviously it was pagan after all, wasn't it? Well, I mean, it had to be evil and nasty and all that. The people exchanged gifts, all work stopped, and the horror of it. Slaves didn't have to work. Why stop slaves working? I mean, that was the whole point of having slaves, wasn't it? To get them to work and to show how really evil and depraved Saturnalia was. Those slaves could join their masters at the table, eat with them, and even be served by them. Oh, shock, horror! Slaves hobnobbing with their masters, their betters? Disgusting. I mean, there was singing and gambling and feasting and, well, being ancient Rome, plenty of, how shall I put this discreetly, romantic stuff as well. A lot of hanky-panky, how's your father going on all over the place. Oh, the horror of it. I mean, so what better way to stop all that pagan carry-on than make it Christ's birthday? I mean, you couldn't have all that dreadful hobnobbing between masters and slaves and fornication going on Christ's birthday, now could you? By the way, Sextus also gave the same date for the creation of the world. That was obviously a very good date for creating things. But unfortunately, he was wrong there too. He said it occurred 5,500 years before his time, which is a bit inaccurate. Yes, since the Earth was actually created around 4.5 billion years ago. Sorry, Sextus. You tried. Oh yes, you tried. But you failed miserably. Twice. But what about all the Christmas traditions, the celebrations? Well, surely they must be Christian, devised specially to honour the birthday of Jesus, right? Well, no, again. They are borrowed pagan celebrations, most of them coming from the Old Norse and North Germanic traditions, mostly from the Norse Yule, from which the term Yule and Yuletide derives, originating in the cold and snow of northern Europe rather than the sun-scorched deserts of the Middle East. Now, the Pope didn't choose the Norse Yule as such to replace pagan festivities, since December the 25th didn't coincide with Yule in his time. It took place several weeks later in January, and it was only moved back to the solstice on December the 21st by King Håkon the Good of Norway in the 10th century, when he decided to combine Christmas and Yule into one festival. He hoped that would help the conversion of pagans to Christianity. It didn't. Even the king's decree that at least 4 gallons of ale or mead must be drunk during the 3 days of the combined Yule Christmas celebrations, even that didn't work as he intended. Now, it probably produced quite a lot of drunks, both pagan and Christian, lying around nursing headaches, but no conversion of the masses. Sorry, King Håkon. Like Sextus, you did your best, but you failed. Your greatest achievement being, I suppose, creating the only legislation in history making it an offence not to get drunk. But that is why the commencement of Yule is almost always given as beginning on the winter solstice, December the 21st. It's the usual date that's been given by just about everybody, me included, I have to say. So I suppose we just have to stick with that one. As I said, the traditions of Christmas have no connection with Jesus and Christianity, other than their later association with that faith, none of them actually originating in the birthplace of Christianity, Palestine and Judea. To begin with, the Christmas tree. Now, what could symbolize Christmas more than the tree, decorated with all sorts of lovely things and a fairy on top? Well, the association of an evergreen tree with Christmas was actually quite recent. Christmas trees only became popular in England as recently as the 19th century, introduced by Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, though there had been trees among the royal family as early as the reign of King George III, whose wife was German, but the Christmas tree as we know it, with presents under it, dates from the reign of Queen Victoria. But a fir tree at Midwinter was an ancient thing. And originally the tree, known as the Yule tree, was part of the Nordic celebration of the winter solstice, both as a living tree outside the house, decorated with apples and stars and food for the tree spirits, which I'm sure the local wildlife very happily assisted the spirits with in the eating of, and as a tree brought into the home, bringing the tree spirits into the home where they would bestow their blessings on the inhabitants. The trees would be decorated with various things, apples, stars, little treats like cakes for the children, as well as for the spirits to enjoy, though I doubt the spirits ever actually got very much of it. As Christianity took over, the tree decorations continued, but very significantly changed their meaning. Apples, once seen as the youth-giving fruit of the Norse goddess Idun, became the fruit of the tree of nasty knowledge in the Garden of Eden. Stars became symbols of God and heaven up there, and the generally triangular shape of the trees themselves became representative of the Holy Trinity. I suppose you can see where that idea would have come from. Like the tree, the Christmas wreath and other green decorations have their origins in Northern Europe. Ivy, holly and mistletoe, as well as various evergreens like fir trees, which remained green through the winter. Probably why they are known as evergreens, I suppose. That makes perfect sense. And they were thought to possess spirit magic that countered the dark forces of the winter. So wreaths and garlands or bushels of these spirit-enhanced plants would be hung over doors and windows and strung around the home to provide not only magical protection, but also decorations at the same time. And they would make everything smell nicer as well. The significance of the evergreen plant in winter was hardly applicable in the hot and largely arid Middle East. The tradition of the pairing of the holly and the ivy also dates from these times, with a sexual content. Oh yes, oh yes. One being seen as male and the other as female. They share a very similar dark green colour, so they were placed together. As Christianity replaced the old gods, the symbolism of the holly changed. The nasty pagan, the sexual aspect of it being dropped. We didn't want that sort of thing going on. And it became known in Scandinavia as Christ thorn, from the crown of thorns supposedly worn by Jesus. De-paganed, sex-free, and thus much, much more respectable. Having changed sides, you might say. Pagan one day, and very evil and reprehensible, became Christian the next, and very good and holy, despite being exactly the same as they were previously. Mistletoe has a very strong romantic connection with Christmas, which it retained, unlike the holly and the ivy, and totally pagan in its origins, associated with the death of the beautiful Norse god Balder, killed by a sharpened branch of mistletoe, which Loki had persuaded the blind god Hodder to throw at him. Balder's mother, Frigg, forgave the mistletoe. It had been used by others, and it bore no responsibility for Balder's death, and she decreed that she would send a kiss to all those who paused beneath it, as a tribute to the beautiful Balder. Hence its role as something to kiss under. Though the mythology of that comes from Scandinavia, the plant's name is Anglo-Saxon. In Old English it was misteltan, from mistel, which meant dung, and tan, which was a twig or a stick, the branches of a tree. Since mistletoe is a parasite, it is spread by bird droppings landing on suitable other plants that it can grow on. So I do hope that your romantic Yuletide notions won't be lessened by knowing that you are kissing someone under a plant that dropped out of a bird's arse, and whose name literally means shit on a stick. Moving on from that, the Yule log, today no more than a small length of wood that fits nicely into your fireplace, began in Scandinavia and North German tradition as an entire tree, the Yule tree, when a small evergreen would be cut down, the branches trimmed, and it would be brought into the house and one end put into the hearth or firebox, which in those days was usually located in the centre of the main room of the house, and the tree would be pushed into the fire a bit at a time as it burned, burning down over the festive season. The tree possessing, of course, its own spirits and bringing them into the home, adding to the general protection. Special songs were composed and sung during Midwinter, as petitions to the gods for a good harvest in the coming year, or dedicated to wealthy persons in the hope of obtaining gifts. That was known as wassailing or Yule singing, later becoming caroling and continuing down to the present day as the Christmas carol. The Christmas ham is another link with the Scandinavian midwinter, when it would have been boar meat, the Yule boar representing homage to the god Freyr, who was said to ride a great golden boar named Gullinbusti, which meant the golden bristles, which had been made for him as a gift. Freyr's feast day was December the 26th, which fitted in nicely with the midwinter festivities. But for those with a dedication to Freyr's sister, Freyja, it could also be seen as the boar that she rode when not being pulled in her chariot by two cats, the Sow Hildisvini, or battle swine. In Scandinavia to this day, the tradition of Freyr or Freyja's goat lives on in the form of little straw goats, like this one, used today as ornaments, though in Old Norse times these were religious objects. They were made from the last straw of the harvest and intended to bring the favour of the god down upon next year's harvest. So the little straw goat, this one is made by the Grimfrost Company in Sweden, is a living link with the past, which I think is rather nice. They're quite decorative, and they come in different sizes, as you see there. Gifts were given in Old Norse times during the Midwinter festival, but not, of course, as we do it today, all wrapped up in pretty paper with ribbons and bows on them. And a gift could be simply giving someone food and drink, inviting them into your home, or giving them the pleasure of your company. The act of giving did not, have to involve actually giving an object of some kind. It could be a nice feast, or simply taking their hand and saying hello. Hanging up the Christmas stocking and leaving milk and cookies out for Santa, and the currant for the carrot, I should say, for Rudolph, well, that goes back to Yule as well, but not for a jolly fat guy in a red suit and a decidedly weird reindeer with a battery-powered nose. No. Children would leave their shoes by the hearth, filled with straw, as an offering for Odin's horse, Sleipnir, and in return Odin would leave little cakes or runes or toys as gifts when he rode out from Valhall on his great 8-legged horse, and he would ride across the rooftops with his ravens, Hugin and Munin, flying ahead, listening at the smoke holes in the roofs to see who was good and who was bad. That idea, of course, later became Santa Claus, and the 8 reindeer represented the 8-legged Sleipnir. The name Santa Claus, though, comes from more modern times, from the Dutch Sinterklaas, meaning St. Nicholas. 3 things that have no connection with the old northern midwinter festival, totally non-pagan, are, well, firstly, there's the Christmas pudding. Oh yes, so beloved in Great Britain and around the world in the former British Empire. The plum pudding, as it was known, which is a bit odd, really, since there weren't any plums in it. And that confusing name came from a rather strange Victorian habit of referring to raisins as plums. Why, I have not the faintest idea. And the earliest recipes for it only date from the 17th century. The second non-pagan ingredient of Christmas, unlike the Christmas tree, the Yule log wreath, Santa Claus presents, carol singing, various decorations, presents left out for Santa and the reindeer, the Christmas ham, the 12 days of Christmas, and even the date of Christ's birthday, the Christmas turkey. The Christmas turkey can hold its head up in pride, at least until somebody whacks its head off, ready for the oven, and it can claim its place as totally non-pagan, having nothing whatsoever to do with the Midwinter festival, being purely a symbol of Christian Christmas celebrations, mainly because there weren't any turkeys in Scandinavia in Viking times. And turkeys still don't feature in Scandinavian Christmas celebrations down to our own time. And finally, the third non-pagan thing associated with Christmas is the Christmas cracker. Yes, that often rather annoying little cardboard tube that you pull both ends, it goes pop, and incredibly silly and useless things like paper hats, the worst possible jokes, little whistles and the like fall out. I always found them irritating and pointless, but anyway, the Christmas cracker was invented in 1847 by one Tom Smith, who lived from 1825 to 1869, and he was a confectionery maker, selling bonbons, which were sugar-coated almonds, which are still sold today, of course, and he used to sell them in a little twist of paper. Now sales had declined a bit, and he came up with a novel idea, what he called cracker bonbons, putting his sweets into a tube that would make a popping sound when it was pulled open. He obtained the device that made that sound from a chemist named John Brown, and nothing to do with Harper's Ferry and bodies mouldering in the grave or any of that, who worked for the famous Brock's firework manufacturer. The revolutionary idea of this popping thing you could pull and the bonbons would fall out, well, it caught on, and his sales went up. Smith's firm still exists in London today, incidentally, Tom Smith and Company having merged with Kale Crackers in 1953, and they continue to make a range of Christmas-related products, wrapping paper, cards, and, of course, crackers. There is a memorial to him, as it happens, a water fountain in Finsbury Square in London. So you see, Christmas has only a minuscule connection with anything non-pagan, other than Jesus getting himself born somewhere at some time in some month in some year a long time ago, which still didn't happen at Christmas. I hope you've enjoyed this little video, and until next time, I shall say goodbye. God and y'all, Merry Christmas, ho, 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 and all that. Goodbye for now.